my lecture. We are now working on the Chapter 5 and the crisis technologies. So from now on, I will introduce how the technology can be adopted to the crisis technologies. The first one is the very famous, like a natural disaster, Hurricane Katrina's. You are probably familiar with this kind of map that provide a typhoon or a hurricane or a cyclone in the world, and how this is approaching. How can you measure this? Okay, do you know the principle to measure it? Typical, the technology is called the laser Doppler velocimeter. This is the laser beam, and if the Anegawa sensei is moving, just coming in, this wavelength will be slightly shortened, and if he is leaving, the wavelength will be slightly elongated. Therefore, by detecting a slight change of the wavelength, we can detect the velocity of Anegawa sensei's motion. Okay? That's the typical ways. So I'm showing simplest, the Doppler effect, which you have already experienced in your childhood. That means this is the train. When train is approaching, the tone becomes a little high. And if the train is leaving the other side, in that case, the tone change happens. That's the similar ways. So the wavelengths will be changing. The frequency is the same. However, due to the wavelength change, the high tone to the low tone, this happens. So as I told you, the laser beam, this is green color. This is typically for 520 nanometer range wave. But the slight modulation happens according to the, in this case, airflow or the cloud or these motions. Therefore, reflecting the wavelength measurement create this kind of images. Okay? So a complex 3D flow diagnosis and automatic tests such as in-flight test, velocity, and so on. These are possible. Next, natural disaster technologies. I already repeatedly show you that we need an unmanned aerial vehicle, unmanned underwater vehicle, particularly for this crisis. And even the hurricane or this area typhoon comes, some persons are missing. We need to use the underwater, unmanned underwater vehicle to catch up the remains, or hopefully still live people. Okay.
May I ask you a question?
Yes.
Around 2011, you mentioned that Japanese robotics, there's no commercialized product or service for the unmanned underwater.
Yes.
Or even nuclear power plant.
Yes, nothing at that time.
But you said you may have lots of the service and robotics in the United States.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Because at that time, Japan claimed in terms of robotics commercialization, Japan is ahead of the rest of the world.
That's correct. But just like a toy, like Asimo or others, they cannot carry the 100-kilogram weight and so on.
Yeah.
It's not a working robot, just a toy. Okay?
Some kind of the gadget or
yes.
Kind of
bicycle, small bicycle. Yes. From our, the military viewpoint, what is the application? Okay. So basically we are talking like a soldier-like robot.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
But after that earthquake, Japan tried to invest in that kind of the robotics quite a lot, and maybe 6 years since then, Japan
Yes.
may have the progress. Is that correct?
Now we see the lots of commercially available unmanned aerial vehicle, but basically it's too late. Already more than the 20,000 people passed away. We need to prepare before this crisis. Okay.
Yeah, and I understand. So some kind of the development of the robotics engineering, your suggestion before the disaster, natural disaster.
Of course. After the disaster and seeing a lot of people pass away, it's too late from my sense. Okay? If the nuclear bomb missile hit the Tokyo area from the North Korea, it's too late. How you need to prepare currently how to protect this nuclear missile.
I agree with you, but at the same time, that kind of robotics might be closely associated with the military weapon or military service. So the U.S. and the Russian or other country may have advantage
Yes.
to develop in advance.
Mm-hmm.
But Japan is a very peaceful country. So
Just you believe. I don't think so. It's very dangerous.
dangerous.
Yes. Because North Korea is hitting now.
Yes, at this moment, we detect that kind of the risk and some kind of the crisis might be waiting for us. But before 2011, Japanese people think Japan is relatively safe, and so that is a source of the lack of the preparation.
No.
Oh,
You are totally wrong ideas. Actually, when I was working in Tokyo Institute of Technology, we are creating a lot of this rescue robot. Okay, that is 1980s. 70s, 80s, we are preparing lots of rescue robots. However, after getting into 90s, all Ministry of Industry and Ministry of Education, METI and also MEXT, both intentionally destroyed all robotic system from the nuclear power plant. Do you know that?
No, I don't know that.
25 years. So they destroyed the.
Destroy means it's not simply.
There used to be a rescue robot in the nuclear power plant. However, 25 years ago, of course, maintenance fee is rather high. And also, the most important issue is the government thinking. If they put the rescue robot in the nuclear power plant, the people may consider nuclear power plant is not safe. Therefore, they intentionally completely crashed out, okay? And eliminated all rescue robots. That's why this happened.
From the nuclear power plant owned by the private company or the Navy or the government?
Even the TEPCO, these areas, of course, I'm not saying a newest nuclear power plant, but the classic Tokai-mura or other.
Owned by
Yes,
the government.
I know, I saw there lots of robots there, rescue robots.
How about the programs, robot development at Tokyo Kogyo Daigaku, METI?
Yes. Professor Hirose's rescue robot was super at that time. However, Hirose, yes, one of my friends.
And the program was terminated or continued?
So because his robot was crashed in Japan, therefore he decided to export his robot to the Thailand or other countries. Yes.
So not in Japan, it was.
Yes, rescue robot, the scientists or engineers, how can I say? They lost all research fund from the Japanese government. That's correct. Yeah. Yeah. That happened in 1990s and in these 25 years, actually.
Was it publicized? I didn't know that. So
of course, government suppressed to release these informations. Okay.
But when we are very careful, we can pick up that kind of information in the public document. I mean, even if that was not widely publicized on the news, but
I just chatted with Hirose sensei. Chatted this guy.
Okay, so
Yeah.
he is in Tokyo.
Yeah. He was really complaining about this situation.
Okay, so that is a very important issue of this kind of direction, engineering or technology direction that Japan should pursue from now on.
Yes. So rather than rescue robot, how the face, lady's face is moving or this, it's not related with any military issues, but you enjoy some, you know.
Also, right now the robotics is the application in the care home or for the elderly people, or so that kind of
Yes.
prevail.
Yes. Home application is fine, but what I'm talking is a crisis technology. You are dead or alive, okay? So Fukushima nuclear power plant, how you need to work, okay? Therefore, initially we started to, provide this iRobot, this robot. Actually, this robot. If you see this robot, how this is moving, and this installed also the explosives and to hit this, okay? This is all unmanned the war. These are the rather popular, okay? So relatively rigid and solid, this robot. This is important for the rescue situation. Another one is hummingbird. This is not very large, but 5 meters already, and flying around the rescue areas. Of course, in this case, the Afghanistan area is flying, but at least this unmanned aerial vehicle and also surface vehicle, both are essential to help the person. So basically, we are targeting for all. At least minimum 100 kilogram, hopefully 200, 300 kilogram must be raised. That's the real rescue robot, okay? Only the 10 kilogram, it's too small, okay?
Sensei, probably it's not part of natural disaster, but what is the status of utilizing unmanned surveillance technology, say flight, right? One lesson learned is that there was a rumor after Algerian menace security incident. There was rumor that America was flying unmanned monitoring plane, and that detected, the Al Qaeda troop invaded Algeria from Libya. Do you have some sort of agreement with African countries? That's I think, a good target of utilizing unmanned flight monitoring system, because it's mostly desert or very less populated area. It's easier to detect something irregular.
Almost all these invasion or other information are transferred to the Japanese government from our DOD, but sometimes the Japanese government doesn't really spread out to the private company and so on. That's the Japanese government structure problem. Our Navy doesn't care so much. The similar situation happened after the explosion of the Fukushima island. Immediately after that, 12 hours later, the Atsugi base, we fly out lots of airplanes and helicopters, and daily we reported all the nuclear waste, the spread out situations to Japanese government. However, they completely hidden for more than 3 weeks. That's your government problem, okay? So if the government disclose our this airflow or waste flows, the much more people safely escape from the areas. Sometimes the ones moving to the more the contaminated area and move back, okay? That's serious situations. So even a speedy has been already started to work, but the government completely hidden all the information. That's your problem, okay, government problem.
Sometimes another question is the radiation detection on the land. And
we are monitoring all areas, okay?
Yeah, so I'm asking why is that? Because initially the Japanese government announced, the Japanese government cooperated with the United States to survey and monitor the radiation.
We haven't received any permission at that time. Initial 1 week, nothing. We just voluntarily work for the Tomodachi operation and so on. No official permission was made. After that,
but I've heard the government announced from the Yokota Air Base, helicopter was airplane?
both
Both.
monitored all the way.
Yeah. And something, I feel a little bit strange because why the U.S. may have such kind of the facility, and also why Japan cannot detect and monitor the radiation alone without the help of the U.S. So at that time, Japan didn't have that kind of the facility or airplane or that kind of thing.
GA doesn't have a sufficient airplane or helicopter. That's number one. And also, your Congress doesn't provide so easily to the permission for the GA to move so quickly. It takes usually 3 days, 4 days allowance. Before that, our Tomodachi operation started, okay?
The first is the U.S. monitored from Java, 10 kilometers above or...
Yes, we are,
fly all over.
as I told you, the first surveillance is the weather and also this kind of incident. All the mapping is made every 2 hours from the Yokota and flying over. So we collected every 2 hours, and that was also reported to our Navy office. So we are monitoring all the way. This is moving this way. Therefore, this direction is dangerous to escape and so on.
Is that directly after the explosion of the nuclear power plant?
That's correct.
Okay, so there's no time lag.
No time lag. Before that, we already warned the Japanese government to spray out all the waters. But this news came in the next day, in the 7 o'clock NHK news. However, around the 10 o'clock, they completely hidden. So no more this news release happened. Okay? That is the press controlled by the government. That creates a serious problem later, okay? So accurate monitoring and surveillance techniques, vibration and pressure sensors, earthquake monitoring, I will explain immediately after that, and tsunami, typhoon, tornadoes, and technologies for gathering and managing crisis information, and informing the public. This technique was so poor by the previous government, okay? So the directive loudspeakers and so on, and rescue technologies, autonomous unmanned underwater area and so on, okay? These are really essential. And I would like to introduce our Operation Tomodachi, 311 Kanto. U.S. Navy helped from the humanitarian viewpoint. Because we asked the Japanese government, as I told you, reply came 2 weeks later. We cannot wait for this long period. As in that period, even 2 hours, 3 hours, many people are dying out. Therefore, we need to start immediately. Therefore, without receiving any particular permission from the Japanese government, we started to work with the Ministry of Defense through the U.S., Japan, the Security Alliance, and started. This is the humanitarian viewpoint. We started without receiving any particular permission or request. This part has not been really disclosed or reported in the Japanese news release. Therefore, you may know Tomodachi operation, but how many we really worked? Can you believe this? This initial stage, we collected 50,000 soldiers. This is a larger number than the Japanese, the Ministry of Defense helpers, okay? So 50,000 soldiers are sent, and the U.S. Ronald Reagan, this is the nuclear carriers, largest one here, okay? And 113 helicopters and 125 planes, all are set, okay, to the Tohoku area. And the initial couple of days expenditure is $35 million. This is immediately provided by the Obama, and we started to work on it. So from our office, we called to the Guam and also Sasebo and other places. So the ships are collected initially Sasebo, and the George Washington came from the Singapore. So Singapore, it took 4 days from the Singapore to Japan. Therefore, a little delayed. But initially, we collected these numbers and sent. But
so was it some kind of the secret because...
it's not secret.
No. I mean the 50 people and how many soldiers, how many helicopters, how many airplanes the U.S. can command directly after several days. So
No, 1 month.
1 month?
Yes.
Okay. So maybe because typical Japanese don't imagine how quickly the U.S. can gather those kind
Yes.
of facilitated people.
Before Japanese Ministry of Defense, actually.
Oh, the close relationship.
Yes.
Okay.
So we collaborate. But as I told you, the Jieitai doesn't have sufficient carriers. So typically, our 10 soldiers and the Japanese soldiers, almost even numbers, are carried in our vessel.
How many soldiers landed to the Tohoku area?
Initially, 50,000 people,
Oh,
soldiers
around
from U.S.
Sendai area?
Yes. Japanese ministry sent 35,000. Okay. So actually, we are the larger majority, and we helped the Jieitai, but the NHK doesn't show our behavior so much. Okay.
Actually, it was reported the Sendai airport was
Yes.
cleared by
Yes.
the U.S.
That's a Marine's job. Usually, we need to set up less than 3 hours for starting up some road and so on.
That was reported.
Yeah.
But this kind of the scale
Yes.
was not that reported. And there might be some kind of the official report for the United States, but it was not widely reported in Japanese.
Yes. Some press really suppression happened from the Japanese government.
Actually, there's some kind of the joint research or academic research, but how the Jieitai and the U.S. Army, Navy, or Marine can cooperate with each other. There might be that kind of the study published by the Boecho or Jieitai.
Ministry of Defense, Japan, and the DOD, US are really beautifully collaborating.
Okay, so
But at that time, Prime Minister, Minister, these levels are a little different.
So that is the bottom-up cooperation.
Actually, therefore, we send the soldiers humanitarian viewpoint without getting any official request from the government. Okay?
There are some kind of afterward, some U.S. soldier complained that the fighter suits against Japan or.
Of course, we are not expecting some award or money. This is humanitarian viewpoint, but at least Japanese mass media needs to report our help, okay, sincerely. So Fukushima nuclear power plant, also autonomous robotic system, as I told you already, we provided them the robot, iRobot. But we suggested offer, but the 2 weeks took. And after that, they send us the mails. If robot system was crashed, who will be responsible? We are not expecting any return or payback or these issues. This is just a humanitarian viewpoint as soon as possible. But because of this situation, 2 weeks delayed for this watching and so on inside, okay? So natural disaster technology. So basically, I frustrated a lot for the government action speed. So a very slow speed create this serious incident. That's my opinion, okay? Natural disaster technologies. This is the typically reported in the newspaper, the earthquake prediction technologies. There are lots of technology. Long-term prediction, plate tectonics. I'm not interested into details this, but usually you can see the newspapers. Tokyo has a 70% chance of powerful earthquake within 4 years, or the Japanese capital's chances of the magnitude 7 earthquake within 30 years are 98%. But this writing usually creates a wrong concept or wrong attitude for the humans. 30 years, one example. I'm not living probably 30 years more, okay? Therefore, of course, within 30 years, but many regular people considered, okay, 30 years safe. And after that, okay, the earthquake may happen. Therefore, nobody will purchase some of the water for the tomorrow's purpose, okay? And actually, after this Tohoku earthquake, many people started to accumulate the water and some of the food. But do you still keep the water? Still keep, okay, good. But many people already spend out, okay? Therefore, this kind of prediction, of course, is scientifically true, but useless knowledge. What we need is tomorrow or 2 days later, we will have the earthquake or not. That's short period, okay? So will the people prepare for the earthquake if you listen to this situation? 30 years, yeah, you live still 30 years. But would you like to purchase some of the food or, okay? 30 years. Within 30 years means most of the people will not prepare 30 years. Okay? Yeah, even the 4 years, but it's still long. Okay? Tomorrow, the best. But 7 days, next best. Okay? More than 1 month, it's useless. Okay?
There's some kind of a serious debate that kind of the prediction, earthquake prediction is possible in theory or not. So the Japanese
rather highly probable. I will introduce some of the newest version, okay? Not only the probable, okay?
There's some kind of debate among the geologists and majority denied the possibility in Japan, and a small number of the people developed that kind of the technology, the short term, so 1 month or several weeks or several days.
Hopefully 3 days is the best.
Yes, and actually in this forum we will invite those kind of
Yes.
scholars
Yes.
In November regarding to this.
Yes, that's most important issues.
Yes, but
Okay.
The complaint is
If this doesn't happen, who will be responsible? That's the Japanese culture. Only Japanese culture, okay? The Katrina, after the Katrina, we usually evacuate the people around the New Orleans area almost every year. Sometimes the hurricane doesn't hit, sometimes hit, okay? Even that doesn't hit, the American people usually consider, okay, we are lucky, good. That's it. No responsibility is provided, okay? However, Japan, even the weather forecast, today's rain will be this, and carrying an umbrella, we didn't have the rain today. Who will be responsible? And complaining to the NHK or other, it's ridiculous, okay? If you do not use the umbrella, you need to consider, I'm really lucky. That's it, okay? This is the crisis technology. So without preparing, death happens, okay? If you are alive and no hitting by the hurricane happened or no earthquake happened, yes, you need to consider very lucky, okay? No complaint about any authorities that all evacuation is like that in the United States. So this is typical Japanese culture. You need to understand your culture itself, okay? Death or life, you need to consider bottom line.
And also, in addition to the Japanese people's attitude, there's some kind of academic emotion, academic discipline.
Mm-hmm.
If they cannot give any proof to support their prediction, so it's not academic. So that might cause
I can show you some academic, okay? Natural disaster technology, earthquake, short-term prediction. What is the typical short range, okay? The first one is land displacement monitoring. This is some, a couple centimeter is shifting before and after the earthquake, so you can monitor it. However, for this, unfortunately, Japan doesn't have a good satellite to watch this, so almost all are taken by initially, this is the U.S. satellite. U.S. is watching all the areas, including. So when I worked for the initially piezoelectric actuator in the 1970s, at that time, U.S. and Russia. So my, duty is to find out the better, the better. Like astronomical, the magnifying, this camera. We need to detect from a satellite to see the lady or guy or, the girl or boy or lady or man from the satellite. So basically to watch the beautiful, this shape and so on, okay? So long hair, maybe ladies, okay? I'm not talking a half, new half or others, okay? We cannot, even we see it, we cannot distinguish it, okay? Thailand, a beautiful young lady came, this is really the guy, okay? Forget this, okay? Just regular, these hairs or your hair, usually no ladies are taking, okay? So these kind of resolutions must be really, taken. So we can monitor some land shape. So usually the earthquake squeezing and releasing. This is the earthquake. Therefore, we can easily detect some of the motions, rapid motions we can detect when the earthquake will happen. Okay? Electromagnetic field monitoring, this is more widely utilized. So the magnetic field will be fluctuating and so on. So this was taken, the Anegawa sensei just introduced. Seiya Ueda. Ueda sensei at University of Tokyo is one of the leading persons. Who is using VHF or other the artificial magnetic waves? Earthquake comes, the earthquake usually, how do you understand? Magnetic materials are rotating inside the earth. Therefore, some of the magnetic field are interfered on the surface. Therefore, Professor Ueda's idea is to watch the VLF or the frequency difference, long wave and the high frequency wave, this difference. So actually, just 2 hours prior, always detecting, this is the earthquake observed in the May 11, 12, 13. This is the earthquake happened, okay? Before 2 hours prior, in this case also this earthquake happened. 2 hours prior, some of the noise was observed. Therefore, 2 hours are usually long enough to escape from some territories to the mountain area or others. Therefore, this 2 hours prior, they can monitor these issues. So this is really academic data, okay? So I'm showing here 2 hours prior, we monitor the big noise of the magnetic field. So this is radio wave and the television wave and so on. These are the artificial. So of course, without having this artificial radio wave, we can monitor it. That is our Penn State, the development, the magnetic noise sensors. This shows this Earth is a kind of magnet, north and south and the total magnet. These are all magnets are changing gradually every year. This is 16th century up to the 2000, how this magnetic field is moving continuously, okay? So seismic magnetism, a brief magnetic pulse observed prior to some the moderate size earthquake might be triggered by the chemical bond of break. If the rock is broken, we usually observe the electric field or current as well as the magnetic field. We can easily monitor this rock collapse, okay? Therefore, our Penn State patent is like this. PGT, our piezoelectric materials, and terphenol D is a magnetostrictive materials. When the magnetic field is changing, this terphenol D will extend or shrink, magnetostrictive, okay? Once this motion happens, this force will be transferred to the PGT. PGT, as you have learned, hitting creates a charge. Therefore, magnetic field changes the stress transferred to the PGT, and the PGT creates a relatively large voltage. Therefore, this is magnetoelectric effect, which was created in our Penn State and patented. And this was actually used, and I'm showing one movie.
So is that, who invented that?
Me. So the permanent magnet, so my finger comes around here, and some magnet is shaking. We can monitor the voltage generations, okay? So my student, currently the Virginia Tech professors, he worked for the MEMS technologies, and the sensitivity and the stability was dramatically increased. Therefore, he monitored, actually taking this and walking around. Some of the magnetic field change can be observed, usually driving and monitoring. So we can easily find initially the mining like the iron mining or others, and also the earthquake. Before earthquake, unfortunately, Pennsylvania, Virginia Tech, we don't have any earthquake, so we need to monitor around the California area. And once the shaking happens, yes, we can beautifully see there's some peak, okay? So before the earthquake, we need to monitor some of the slight change of the magnetic field. That part is the incident, okay? And natural disaster technology. I lived in the Roppongi Hills. Therefore, inside I saw these beautiful structures still are in a field by the concrete field steel. So steel frame are filled by the concrete. Therefore, both strength and rigidity are provided for keeping this is the basement of the Roppongi Hills building, okay? Another one, which I don't like this, is the tsunami protection, Great Wall of Japan. This is actually started to working, okay? It's crazy project.
What do you mean by crazy?
Not recommended, I will explain it. Okay. Natural disaster, comments on the Japanese Great Wall. US doesn't consider anything like that, okay? Bad scenery on the sea coast, okay? Number one. Why would you like to live in the sea coast? Because of the beautiful scenery. But if you block all the scenery, it's not the sea coast, okay? And also, big tsunami may occur once per 100 years, okay? This is a statistic. So for this one time per 100 years, we need to really make this, okay? And you may know the concrete. Lifetime of the concrete is 25 years and 40 years. Does Japanese government restructure or rebuild the big wall every 25 years? Bankruptcy may happen, okay? So houses in Florida and the tornado alley in our area, okay? How they are rebuilt every a couple of years? Because tornado crashes out, okay? They know the tornado comes every 2 years, okay? Therefore, the same place and a couple of years at the same place with a similar structure whenever hurricane tornado hits. Home insurance covers these changes. Therefore, usually 2 months to rebuild the house, okay? It's not so difficult. Just staying a couple of the weeks or 1 month in the hotel and coming back, okay? And the key is only they evacuate the residents during this. So why they will return back to, again, this sea coast? Because of the beautiful scenery. They don't care yearly, annually, they rebuild. The new house comes in, okay? House price, housing price is very cheap. Usually, the 4 walls are already built and carrying and bam, 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 bam. So it takes usually 2 hours to set up a house, okay? In the United States. So why don't you make the simple like a prehab like a house and live there? What you need is the earlier evacuation process, typically 2 hours or 1 day prior. So they can evacuate and waiting until the hurricane is going up. So completely cleaned up by the hurricane and rebuild. Why not, okay? This is the simplest. Making a big wall and every 25 years you rebuild, you need to pay lots of taxes, and this may happen only once 100 years. It's not a big investment by Japanese government. Therefore, I hate this project, okay?
How about land-wise? For example, the Rikuzen Takada local government and the national government to raise the horizontal face by 10 meters high by the soil of the mountain. So,
in my feeling, useless. If this house is removed every 2 years, you can rebuild the house. Because they would like to live there, okay? If they don't like to, if they need a little longer period, like a 30-year, 40-year living style, they can move to the higher area.
that is the problem. And after the Great Wall national project, the maintenance cost is very high for the local government.
That's correct. Every 25 years, you rebuild, okay? But anyhow, concrete is weakening and weakening. Therefore, if the 100 years later, if big tsunami happens, completely crashed, I definitely guarantee. Okay? Only 20 years is the strength of the concrete. Yeah. So living style must be completely changed. Why do you need to live on that particular house for a long period? Every 2 years, 3 years, you may change the house, okay? Rebuild. The simplest, the cheapest, covered by the insurance, you can set, in that case, your scenery is maintained beautifully, and 1 day prior earthquake, in that case, a couple of hours prior, you need to escape from that area. The most important is the life and evacuation. The mandatory evacuate by the military, that's important. Okay?
So
yes?
Who will pay for the house?
Insurance company. Yeah. Hurricane or this tornado, that area, the insurance will provide, this. Of course, my situation, I'm not involved in the tornado because Pennsylvania doesn't have a tornado. To the contrary, my insurance covers the snow, okay? Snow crashing, we need to rebuild. Typically, no house will be maintained for 10 years, okay? Any accident happens. So we need to rebuild. Rebuilding is actually covered by the insurance. Yes?
I think the insurance premium would be really high.
Sometimes that area is high. So therefore, this area, like Florida areas, all houses are really cheap. Like a prehab, just 1 block, 4 blocks are covering. And no basement, no second floor, just the floors. And this is usually, as I mentioned, 2-3 years, typically statistically rebuilt. Okay?
But the situation in Japan, tsunami area, is totally different from Florida situation in Florida. Because Florida has tornado occasionally, but in the tsunami area, they only have big tsunami once in every
100 years. That's correct. Therefore, this big wall is useless. Usually no tsunami. Okay? Once per 100 years. So if you accumulate all insurance companies really happy, okay? And once per 100 years, they are delighted to pay you back. So just the thinking style is different. The United States are really migrating people. Nobody will stay in one house more than 5 years. That's definite. Okay? They are moving out and rounding around. Old house, usually lower incoming person comes in. And if your income is higher, you will move to the better house continuously every 5 years. That's our philosophy. And if...
So guys, in USA, you rent a house or you buy the house? sales house.
Buying house is cheaper than renting house.
So you buy and sell.
Yes. Usually selling is a little higher than the buying. Therefore, you can get the better. So initially, only $100,000 house is purchased and slightly paying, but typically 10% original is paid. They're mostly paying back only the interest. And moving to the next, of course, during that period, the housing cost is 30% higher. Therefore, we can sell 30% higher. So we can take double the loan next time and moving to the double the house.
I think that's the difference between USA and Japan, because in Tohoku area in Japan, no one would like to move to that kind
Yes,
of
that's a culture.
Yeah.
So if you keep the cultures, Japanese government needs to spend lots of money for supporting, but nobody is interested in to see just a wall, 10-meter wall every day, no good scenery, okay? Why they are living in this? In my feeling, I like seaside. Therefore, I would like to see the sea. However, sea is usually coming in like a hurricane. Therefore, my house would be really, destroyed. That's inevitable. That's a risk for purchasing a house that area. Okay? So if you flexibly think about it, okay, every couple of years, if you can change it, typhoon, hurricane, doesn't matter, okay?
But additional episode, anecdote, and Japanese young people does not like seaside. That is a report published by
Yeah.
in the newspaper. And old people have a strong attachment to the ocean or seaside or that kind of landscape.
Yeah.
The younger people does not care for that kind of culture.
That's the same for the United States. Florida, rather expensive for this maintaining. Therefore, almost all are retired person, okay? Yes. we have sufficient money to pay back and rebuild and so on. Okay, younger generation doesn't want to live in Florida.
Or seaside.
Yeah.
I want if I can live in Izu area. I like cities.
Yeah. Yeah, in that case, you will consider some risk, okay?
So since you have house building codes that lay out minimum structural requirements in US?
What do you mean, minimum, some strengths and so on?
Yeah.
These are already regulated, but
So
US house is really simple. Usually one wall, one example to build this room, 1, 2, 3, 4 walls are broad and coming up in 1 hour period and cascading here, 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 that's it. And finally, the crane will bring the roof and bam, okay? So typically 3 days are necessary to build a new house, okay? But the decoration or other electricities, everything we usually spend 1 month to 2 months to build a house, okay? So minimum, if you cover and so on, yes, you need to wait 3 days. So a simple house, therefore rebuild. So this is the typical American culture, okay? If you don't like this area, yes, you can move to the Pennsylvania or others, okay?
I think Filipinos share this.
That's correct. Philippines is the same situation. They like a seaside. So every year, usually cleaned up and new built, okay? As long as the insurance covers, don't care. Yes?
Do people there want to live in some kind of easy building house?
Even my house is simple. Therefore, too simple, Therefore, electricity in the low temperature winter is really high. We are burning lots, okay? Yes, from an energy consumption viewpoint, these houses are not good. But Florida, we don't need a so strong air conditioning system, no strong heaters. So basically simple structure. One piece of wall is enough, okay? We are not really considering so much about the house because we are migrating every couple of years, okay? Of course, if you'd like to purchase a house, there's a beautiful castle, like, the castle is also fine, okay? You may purchase it. No fragility about the strong wind, okay? But this is the typical. So a key is only the evacuation, okay? A couple of hours prior at least. So the bird flu, Hong Kong, the young boy killed, and this H7N9 is a bird flu. So regarding this virus situations, my colleague, the urban universities, they developed bacteria sensors. So contagious disease. So biosensor. Usually we use the quartz, single crystals, and polishing down and making electrode. We can vibrate at very sharp, like the vibrations. You are familiar with the wristwatch, very precisely, the maintaining the watch. So these frequencies are really precise. Therefore, if you put a small amount of bacteria weight, trapping the bacteria on the surface, the frequency, vibration frequency by putting additional mass, frequency is slightly the lower side shifting. Therefore, by monitoring the load change and the resonance frequency change, we can monitor how large amount of bacteria exist in this air condition. Okay? The coating antibody. So to trap the particular virus, we need to set so-called antibody, just a trapping for some particular virus. Okay? So antibody is provided. So this was reported by the Urban University.
Where is that? Urban University. Which state?
Urban University is, I have forgotten. The Urban. Huh? The Urban University, the location. You can probably seek on the Google. The Urban University, Professor Chen, they provided a quartz and gold electrode, and the antibody is put, and these are the trapped bacteria, beautifully seen, okay? And by
Sensei, I'm just curious, how do you treat private communication in academic society?
Mm-hmm.
If you get sort of, scientific information data from your friend on a personal information sharing basis, could you use that as data or the evidence in your
Usually private communication is held in the military-related conference.
I see.
Like military-related, of course, all invited, for the project leaders are provided, so we can chat each other. Of course, rather confidential. Yes. After that, if I communicate, one example, in my case, I send a chain, and if you have some, disclosable, materials, can you send it to me? Usually, the academic areas, they can send it. Okay? So that's the Chan's report. And he disclosed this. He checked E. coli or Salmonella or others. So I will show you some Salmonella. Salmonella is rather toxic, and only the dose ratio around this 10 to the 4th to 6th, rather fatal already. So pass away of the humans. Therefore, this can easily monitor these levels clearly. Therefore, Salmonella, this particular, the bacteria sensor can be used. Okay. In our lab, Penn State, this is our ICAT lab. We worked in the 2001 after the, you may remember, the World Trade Centers attack. And after that, we were attacked by the anthrax. Anthrax in Japanese, you translated tansokin. Yes, anthrax attack happened. This is not really the Al-Qaeda situation, but inside terrorists attacked some of the U.S. the congresspersons. Therefore, we were all attacked. Some panic came in inside the U.S. Therefore, our Penn State, of course, the finding out anthrax is not difficult. But after finding out, we need to neutralize anthrax. Otherwise, it's dangerous. Therefore, we consider the neutralization technique, ultrasonic hypochlorous acid humidifier, for disinfection purpose. Okay? Sorry. I will show you the movie. Okay? So this is our labs. This was made by the undergraduate student, like a thesis topic. So he started to use typically soldier can carry the salt, just a rock salt, it's fine. And we can find the water around there. So our situation is a soldier carryable neutralization situation. Therefore, by putting water and the salt and using electrolysis the situations, we can create the HClO, ClO. That is the hypochlorous acid. Okay. This is the famous, the disinfection type, the materials. Therefore, we started to evaporate by using the piezoelectric humidifier. Therefore, if this room is toxicized by the anthrax, in that case, the getting in is dangerous. Therefore, from the outside, through this duct, air duct, we will evaporate this mist around 15 minutes and waiting 2 hours. 2 hours is long enough to kill all the germs inside these rooms. After that, if the killing materials, chemicals, are so toxic, we cannot get in so easily. Therefore, we started to use hypochlorous acid. Usually 2 hours and 2.5 hours, all toxicity or killing disinfection function are disappearing. This becomes only the salt later, again. Therefore, after that, we don't need to clean up everything. Soldier can easily get in. Just wait 2 hours. That's the initial way. Therefore, the army really supported us. And we need to move into the Afghanistan and so on at that time. Therefore, once we detect some of the germs, you remember the Iran, Iraq, the chemical, the minister, okay? And creating a lot of biochemical, weapons. Therefore, to, they move into the Iraq we need to be carefully work on this, bio weapons. So bio or chemical weapons, we need to really disinfect initially and move into the rooms. That's the typical way which we are working, okay? And a similar technique, piezoelectric symbol can be utilized. This is the popular science. I'm a diabetic person, so I need to inject insulin and so on. But the insulin injection, I don't like a needle. Therefore, needle-less, needle-free is essential. Therefore, we decided to use the ultrasonic vibration. The final stage is like this wristwatch, and some of the time comes. So the inside, this symbol transducer is vibrating around 300 kilohertz. And this ultrasonic vibration provide human tissues, rather interesting situation. The sweat hole will be opened for 1 hour. Therefore, just putting the insulin on the surface of the skins, this is automatically the injection. So transdermal means that. Transdermal. Dermatology is like a skin, okay? Transdermal, the technology was created. So sugar-free, not the sugar-free, the needle-free, the insulin injection is made. So we tested, actually, this is rabbit, but my student write like a dog. This should be rat. Okay. We tested the rat first, and the rabbit next, and finally we tested the pig. Pig is almost the same the weight like you, okay? Unfortunately, United States, yes, we may need to test like this big guy, okay? So this corresponds to pig. Pig is 200 kilogram, okay? Unfortunately, United States doesn't allow to use the monkey. Therefore, final test should be in Singapore, where we can use a monkey, okay? Chimpanzee. So in that case, rather close to the human, okay? So anyhow, this is the rat. And using a 5 minute or 10 minutes, some of the ultrasound, yes, injection is made. Therefore, are you familiar with the glucose level? Do you know the glucose?
Yeah, maybe I know the Chinese words.
Okay. Yeah. Glucose, sugar rate of the blood, okay? Usually the 100 milligram is the critical range. Much higher, we call it the diabetes. And much less than that, normal, okay? And interestingly, I learned that all mammals, rabbit, rat, all mammals has exactly the same sugar rate. It's interesting, small or large, okay? Basically from the original, when mammals started, these are becoming larger or smaller, but all are the original, blood, situation. So as long as you use the same blood, the sugar rate is the same, 100 milligram. Therefore, initially, medical doctor created this rat. Rat doesn't have a diabetes rat, unfortunately. So intentionally, they injected a lot of sugar every day and make it, the diabetic rat, okay? And they started to work for the injection, and the insulin is put here, and the dramatic decrease happen, okay? So this is actually very beautifully work. So this is a typical normal popular science. Therefore, for the military application, we started to use for the malaria vaccine immunization. We are sending 35,000 soldiers in Africa at this moment. And the soldiers, malaria is rather critical. Are you familiar with the malaria? Malaria, do you know the malaria? Yeah. Malaria is transferred by the mosquito, and some fever or others really serious situation happen. So malaria immunization, yes, we have some immunization medicine. However, interestingly, malaria immunization must be injected every day. Rather critical, not once a week or once a month, every day. Therefore, our company suggested the armies to make it a wristwatch type. And this color band was made 7 different colors, the 1 week range. So Monday is a red color, or Tuesday is the yellow color, or others. So the commanding officer can easily see this wrist colors. You are not injected today's immunization. It's easy to find, okay? And again, similar ways, and vibrating, and malaria, the vaccine is injected. Using a needle and like a young soldier around the high school kids, they are hesitating to inject every day, okay? So just change the wristwatch, this commanding officer's suggestion. So just changing wristwatch and needle-free and injected every day, okay? That's a typical, the military, the injection type.
Because many Chinese construction companies operate in West Central Africa. Nigeria, yes, we got several quite big oil
Yes.
gas construction sites. Many of our employees got.
So technology is already here. Therefore, if you need some immunization, particularly in Africa or others, yes, let us know, okay? So enormous
Do you have local agents there in African countries?
No. My company is just a research company for the armies. So we are not a medical company. We are not treating any vaccine or others. So what we can sell is the structures, and the mass production should be made in Japan or some other countries, cheaper price, and vaccine and distributed from a medical company. Yes.
How do you tell that the vaccine is actually with the needle, you know that the vaccine is disappearing into your body. But is there like a meter that shows that the vaccine is going into your body?
How much is? No, not that. So usually the test is continued, and average. So depending on each human or race, the injection percentage may be slightly different, okay? So basically, if exceptionally different, that's the bad luck of this soldier. That's it, okay? Soldier is like an animal, so test animal. So, yeah, like a mole moth, actually. Even our, the medical catheters, test was made by the soldiers. Without using this soldier will definitely die out, okay? If we test it, if helped, yes, a final FDA, application is rather easy, okay? So typically we will collect lots of this testing during the battlefield. That's really correct, okay? So without treating, this guy will pass away. If we treat, still pass away, a little unlucky, that's it.
So you know about your previous example of the malaria injection,
Mm-hmm.
and you invented that
Our invention is not this malaria. Basically, symbol and transdermal injection. We didn't really put any particular. Demonstration was made by insulin. That's it, okay? After seeing this, Army contacted me. Is it possible to inject the malaria vaccine? Therefore, this is the military work.
So, which is the most important invention
Most important is that the symbol structure, which our Penn State is keeping a patent. Highest power, reasonable frequencies, and acoustic impedance for the skin is good. Okay.
So it is related to your invention.
Symbol is my invention. Application patent. This is.
Okay.
Do you have a School of Medicine in Penn State?
Yes, Hershey Medical Center is the, I think, top 3 in the world of the hospital. Hershey Medical Centers, among the top worldwide the doctors, we usually keep the 20% of the worldwide top doctors belongs to the Hershey Medical Center. Our medical center started so-called Jovic artificial heart first, and the cow or ox really lived by using this artificial. That's a huge one. Artificial heart. That the Jovic type was created, and also the first the examining of some biological materials taken from the moons that was tested in the Hershey Medical Center. Okay.
When I was teaching on just on the suitcase basis at Tohoku University, they carry one department called medical engineering.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether other university carry that, but so in your case.
Our university, of course, medicine is the Hershey Medical different campus, and the University Park campus has a bioengineering. Therefore, this bioengineering and medical, bio and medical engineering we have. Engineering is in the our University Park campus. Medicine, medical doctors are different. So we are mutually collaborating.
So you collaborated with the medical school to invent that injection?
Unfortunately, I don't have this actually the testing. Testing must be made by the bioengineering. She is my former student. She has got the license for this animal test. She's not a real human medical doctor, but the animal test is possible. Therefore, she tested up to the peak. Monkey, we don't know. This is a human doctor or animal test in between, okay? So at least the United States doesn't allow to use a monkey, therefore no problem, okay?
So some kind of
How about gorilla?
Monkey, gorilla, these are, okay? Yes, if you'd like to test it, only Singapore is the place. Therefore, almost all medical the companies have a branch in Singapore to test actually the examining. But gorilla is huge, okay?
What about Malaysia?
Actually, I don't know. As long as I know, all the medical companies have a branch in Singapore.
I'm curious to know that because you invented the core technology.
Mm-hmm.
Then this is a medical application.
Yes.
And US maybe or some people find that this can be applied to the medical area.
Yeah.
And the testing is conducted by several people and including the other countries. So that kind of the division of labor, who controls that kind of the division of labor?
Soldiers, testing is not my responsibility at all.
Who find your technology can be applied?
The Army, in my case, Army has the medical development laboratory. I received a small business innovation research from them. So we provided some of the deliverable, and they tested through some of the soldiers.
Your proposal or Army's proposal to invent this apparatus? Initial action is made by you, or?
Collaboration should be made very closely.
I understand.
So because we reported the previous this, therefore Army officer called me, and is it possible to move into a different type? And our company's the suggestion for this is just like the principle is the same. Principle is the same. Therefore, we know this. However, the usage, like 7 different colors, these are the company's product. Therefore, the Army officer, commanding officer likes, okay, it's easy to change the different colors for every day. That kind of argument was created with the armies. So mutual collaboration, mutual idea must be combined to develop a real, the devices.
I'm asking this question because what technology you invented is not for the medical for the first time.
No,
In the different areas.
yes, actuators.
But someone recognized this can be
Yes.
applied to the medical
Yes.
field.
Energy harvesting, Toyota recognized us. Therefore, we used for the Toyota Lexus, and not the Lexus, Toyota Prius hybrid car. The same symbol, yes. For these situations, a little smaller. I have lots of samples of symbols, so if you would like to see it. So medical or others. So this is medical application. Therefore, yes.
There should be many wise people who can recognize this can be applied to the
Yes. We need to find the final partners for the application. So application patents were taken by these guys. So of course, some of the fundamental symbols, as long as they are using symbols, some feedback comes to me.
Another question, perhaps, American Army is operating, say, in Ghana, and you do soldier testing. Whose medical ethics code applies? American?
That's inside the armies.
Yeah.
So I'm not touching anything about this. Okay, the coffee break.